Welcome to the Tri-Cities Mixtape. This is Miguel Ortiz. Today I'm joined with my co-host,
Vic, the Dreaded Dragon.
And today we're at the Richland Library. Shout out to the Richland Public Library. And we have two ladies here from Good Loser. Woo!
Woohoo! Yeah.
From left to right, tell me your name and your role in Good Loser.
I am Zam. I am technically the on-camera talent, but I'm also the creative director.
And I'm TJ. I'm the executive producer and kind of the technical talent behind Good Loser.
Okay, so what is Good Loser and how did it get started?
Yeah, Good Loser it's an ongoing kind of documentary project. We do media in and about the community. We've been going out and filming content for a couple months. We started in November. We started with a piece about the hideout and the fundraiser that they were making, and we got to talk with them and learn about this cool project where they're trying to put together a community first radio station. And that kind of informed everything that we've been doing since then. Just kind of going out into the community, meeting cool people, trying to share stories about them, and just kind of trying to fill some of the gaps that kind of like corporate media and mainstream media doesn't really cover.
I think that was perfectly said. Yeah, Good Loser is, from my point of view, that as a background, it's just going out, talking to people, figuring out why people sometimes do what they do and how we are here and trying to build community in Eastern Washington, I think. Is the biggest part about it. Also the location where we are. People hear Washington and they think Seattle, they think big city, they think easier to find community, and it's not. This side of the state. It's very isolated. It's a car-centric couple cities, and so it's easy to feel isolated, and we try and highlight where community is, I think, and maybe help people find theirs.
That's so big because I guess by now I can't say I just moved here from Georgia anymore. I've lived in the Tri-Cities for about 3 years now, but I moved here from Atlanta, and my preconception of this entire state was, what everybody else on the East Coast thinks. Seattle is what the entire state is like. But no, there's an entirely different culture on this side of the mountains, and it seems like a little bit more isolated from all of the hype on the west side and all that. And it seems like it takes a little bit more to dig into. So I can definitely see what you're aspiring to address. That's really cool.
I guess in a time where anybody with a camera and a question could go out and do something, most of us don't, right? Everybody has a camera in their pocket. Everybody has a brain where they could think of whatever they would like to document. The fact that you guys actually are doing it, I applaud that, because I also consider what we do here kind of as documentation. We're interviewing people here in the scene, and it's going to be a nice little snapshot or yearbook of this time, when you do look back on it or whatever. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
I mean, that we're both collaborators in documenting the scene here.
Yes. I do consider myself a documentarian of sorts. What made you guys want to get started, and what skill set have you grown since just a camera and a question to where you are now?
Well, I guess kind of the idea to go out and start doing video content was my idea. I have been a filmmaker for a long time. I did documentary work in the past, and it was something that just kind of faded into the background as I went into the working world and worked in, corporate media for a long time, worked in marketing, advertising. It's, this sort of stuff that pays the bills but doesn't really fuel my passion.
Yeah.
After so long doing that, I don't know. I pitched to Zam one day, why don't we try this? Would you be willing to go out and, hold a microphone, talk to some people, see how that goes? And she agreed to do it. I'm not really sure why, but that's what we've been doing ever since.
And how do y'all know each other?
We met at Starbucks.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Nice.
went through the drive-thru and she was the barista, and she yelled at me because I placed a mobile order. She tried to scare me. She yelled my name. It was really frightening. It left an impression on me. I came back a few times and we got to know each other. We became really good friends.
And did you go to school for media or film or?
Yeah, I did. I went to college for film, and then I didn't really do anything meaningful with it beyond just kind of go into marketing and stuff like that. So, I mean, I was able to find a job, find a living with it, but for a very long time it wasn't anything that fulfilled my real creative needs in the way that this project has been.
For sure.
And Zam developed all of the branding for Good Loser. I'll let her talk a little bit more about that, but she's a really talented graphic designer. So I think when we met, we talked about how we have different creative paths in our lives and how those kind of complement each other. We found a lot in common over that.
Let's go.
Yeah. Wow. Throwing it way back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was I was a barista for a little while, and I had to move on with that. You can't do that forever, unfortunately. So
You can if you're a drummer. No.
Get out of here.
I found that I couldn't. I figured out I liked graphic design. I like to say that I wasn't very good at it when I first started, unfortunately. But I think that kind of made me want to avenge my skill set, and I wanted to be better. I was like, I like this
Let's
too
go.
much. I have to be good
Yeah.
at this. I think this is too fun. Anyway,
I refuse to be bad at this.
Exactly.
Yeah, that motivation
here's,
arc.
Here's a little story I'll tell. There was a girl in the first graphic design class I ever took, which was at CBC, who was a really phenomenal illustrator, and it made me really jealous. That's basically it. I was like, okay, I have to be better than her. I have to be better than her. It was like during COVID time, so like I never knew her personally or anything like that. I couldn't remembered her name, and I was like, she's really good at this, and I have to be better. That's basically why I started to develop this interesting relationship with graphic design. It was just like, I want to be better than this girl because she's really good at it, and I want to be as good, if not better, than her.
It's amazing.
So yeah, I graduated from CBC, wanted to learn more, get my degree in that, went to Seattle for 2 years after that, graduated with my bachelor's. Let me go back a little bit, actually. When I was at CBC, again, during that first class I took, maybe it was the second graphic design class I took, there was a build a brand project. It was build a brand from scratch, design the branding, design every aspect that this brand would need. At the time, was figuring out what good music was. So at the time, just to put this into perspective, I learned who Elliott Smith was.
Okay, yeah.
So that's the type of music that I was listening to, just with one artist in mind. And I loved pretentious music culture. I loved the 2012 hipsterdom and like how annoying people were about music. Also, physical media. I love physical media. I love ephemera and things like that. And I put these two things together. The absolute like loser guy who's like, you've never experienced music if it's not in this format and in this specific way. And also like the good that brings, which is like collecting, when it's healthy, but being able to share your hobbies and the good in that. So Good Loser was the thing that I created, and it was built around a brand that did subscription music services. That branding looked really bad. Again, fast forward, was in Seattle, picked this name back up, refreshed it, put my own spin on it, made it modern, more contemporary, made it feel more like me, honestly, where I was. And I built that entire brand. The colors were very inspired by like just traditional media and like retroism and like a love for media and collecting, and that name just really resonated with me. And I guess we picked that up. Why I agreed to do Good Loser and what it is today, I don't really know. I'm not the most confident person in the room, I'll tell you that.
But you've gotten a lot more confident as we've done it.
I have developed I have just thoroughly developed my social skills through this project.
I think you touched back on that, yeah. Like your skills that you've grown since participating.
Yeah.
It feels like you had the graphic design skills that built the foundation of it through your coursework and your idea, which I love that origin story. That's so sick, by the way. And how you encompassed it into the brand. It seems that you understood the assignment. And even the fact that you were able to refresh it later on, and it still had the skeleton of what you needed, and you carried that forward. It was on good foundations. I dig that a lot. And so the social part, I see you're saying that's kind of what grew on from recent applications.
Yeah, talking to people is hard. It's always been hard, I think. Especially when you're not extremely extroverted, and I really enjoy talking to people. It's really hard to find an opening with most people. It makes it easier when you have a microphone and a question.
Wow.
I will say that.
Wow.
There's like more purpose, but I feel like I've also been able to meet and understand people when I don't agree with them. Also, it's something that I learn a lot of.
How confrontational has it gotten so far? Because I'm assuming you're maybe mostly talking to people that you're interested in or you care about their movement or something, but also sometimes when documenting, you have to be neutral, or you have to talk to everybody, or again, you just never know. Somebody might seem like a nice, friendly interview, but they said something the wrong way and it feels hostile or anything like that.
Occasionally, things get a little bit uncomfortable. Like sometimes I will ask a question and somebody might, like this happened one time, where they don't fully understand how I'm saying it. Like there was a the student protest that we went to, where I asked, like, what are you doing here today? And I think they didn't know that I was coming at it from like, I want to know, like, literally, like, why you're out here, like as kindly as possible. They kind of thought like I was a troll and could make fun of them. And sometimes it's just about like, you want to be protective of, and like not find yourself later on social media, like being slandered.
It's true, yeah.
Which is understandable, but among talking to the other people around them, they realized, oh, this is safe. Oh, I can actually say why I'm here. And then they did. And then it was like totally chill. There hasn't been any hostility, I don't think. We recently went to a No Kings Bob. I don't know if you guys saw that video, where it was, with people that I don't agree with. It was opposing the millionaire's tax. And we have learned, I think, that we must remain neutral as possible.
When we go out.
When we go out and shoot these things. Because it's not going to help when I say, I disagree with you. Or like approach them with a little bit more hostility and maybe even too much pushback. Some pushback is good, but too much seems like you're being attacked, and then it becomes very uncomfortable. But with those two people that we talked to, they were nice. I didn't agree with them, but they were nice, and one of them ended our conversation with, I'm sure you have good values and good morals. And we walked away from that, and, I can't say that I agree with how they feel, but they were nice, and we got a conversation, and I was able to understand them, I think, which is really what this project is about. Just where are people coming from?
I found from personal and just from observing the world that like real discourse between opposing sides is very rare. It's hard to meet somebody that meet them on terms that are neutral or that isn't, and nobody really seems to care to listen to the other side. Or again, everybody seems to have their mind made up, and as much as they want to, there's no discourse. There's just argument, or there's grandstanding or point, or like, oh, I made my point. It's like, it does feel like most things have been turned into pro wrestling. Politics has been turned into pro wrestling, political discourse, even, disagreements and confrontation. Everything is just pro wrestling now and grandstanding or
for sure
whatever.
I actually just had that experience on Facebook the other day. I was on a buddy's post, and he was expressing some values that I didn't agree with, but all I asked for were sources and people's opinion, and I was attacked for just trying to see how other people thought. I was like, no, I'm literally asking, like, what sources are you reading that, okay, let's say that you think that this meme is fact or whatever. Why? What are you leaning on? I didn't pose any type of argument. I really wanted to hear what they thought, but all of the responses that I was getting were attacks and ready for debates and argument. And I was like, I'm not here to argue with you. I'm here to hear what you think. And people are so shocked and like thrown off by the fact that, oh, somebody who might not agree with me actually cares to hear my opinion. Everybody's in such a like defensive, kind of protective, I don't want to end up on viral later for, stating my thoughts. They're in that mode so much that it's disarming to be genuinely asked your opinion, regardless, especially being met with somebody that's neutral. Because I can put on a poker face for anything. I might be talking to somebody that would really wish me dead, and I would still sit here and want to hear everything that they have to say, because, I'm interested in the psychology of how people operate.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads me back to what I wanted to touch on what you mentioned earlier about like the growing on the social level. And do you feel like part of what helped you get more the social growth and start getting behind the mic and the camera and doing things was also just like an interest in psychology? You kind of said you were interested in like how people think and why they think, or how they why they feel the way they do. And you said like maybe it's easier if you're extroverted, which I'm extroverted, so talking to people is nothing to me, but I'm curious to how like somebody more introverted would thrive in such a position. And is it your interest in the psychology more so than the, chatting?
Honestly, yes and no. Yes. Yes, because I think core to the project is just trying to listen to everybody, trying to see the humanity in people. I think my no is that it's really hard to talk to people, just because when people say something that I don't agree with, it's hard to remain neutral. I think I've always been somebody who knows what they believe, and when somebody says something that's like they mean it to be like harmless, I in my head like dissect that and like see the harm in what they're saying when sometimes they don't. So it's helped me through conversations where I might resist a little bit and like maybe push back and ask more questions, but I've learned to understand them fully and just go about that in a more civil way, where in the past I maybe wouldn't have.
I mean, it's difficult too, because especially like I hate politics. I hate the way politics are, what they've become. And I think it's important that we continue to cover them, because it's just like when we do this sort of stuff, it once it gets onto social media, it kind of feels like you're fighting an uphill battle. Everybody is so vicious on social media. But the conversations that we have in real life are always very cordial. So it's interesting to see that kind of disconnect, and it's frustrating because, and this is kind of also, I think, part of the core of Good Loser, is that like people are just fighting the wrong fight most of the time. We should be fighting up versus down. We should be fighting, the elite, the people who make the propaganda, the people who pit us against each other, instead of left versus right. And that's so frustrating, because a lot of people on the right and a lot of people on the left have so much in common, economic status and the struggles that everybody faces, and people have just been so manipulated to fight one another. Instead of the people that we really should be fighting, the ruling class, the elite, the Epstein class.
Come on.
Yeah, I said that.
I love it.
So that's part of what's difficult. Is, I spend a lot of time cleaning up the comments, and it's a little frustrating to just see how like readily people are able to just kind of attack each other online versus trying to have some sort of dialogue. And I think that's kind of what we do is like what 99% of people don't do, which is like go out and talk to people and actually try to listen to them, and
without preconceptions and stuff, like from a clean slate.
It's so easy to just kind of sit behind your device, or your crazy like aunt on Facebook or whatever just wants to.
I will say
yell
that. Comments, I think, is where I was thinking also, because talking to somebody and like what people say about that conversation on the internet, very different. The environments are very different, and both sides will say the meanest thing about a person.
I know, right?
Comment on their appearance, or just like a lot of our comments that unfortunately we have to read is there's no progression on the topic. It's just fighting about their appearance, or just because they see that what they have to say is progressive, they'll call them like wokesters.
Yeah, some type of
it's like
liberal slur.
That's not like it's easier. It's easier to call somebody something than it is to understand where they're coming from.
Yep. Exactly.
I see that all the time. It's easy to dunk on a conservative, and it's easy to dunk on a feminist, but it's not. People don't care enough to like think about their living conditions, where they are living. Do they have access to healthcare? Are they able to like feed their children, pay their rent? Are they comfortable? Like I don't.
You could ask both of those people those same questions that you listed, and a lot of them will have the same dang things in common. The same background. It's nuts. Which actually, I like that y'all were talking about that and kind of being an alternative, like media source. What are some of the gaps do you feel that you're addressing that a lot of mainstream content, mainstream media options aren't.
Yeah, well, one big thing is that we do spend a lot of time talking to people, and like local broadcast news doesn't do that. I mean, I used to work in local broadcast news. I used to work at KNDU, so like,
Oh, okay.
I know how reporters go out and they get their sound bites and they get a couple of shots and they get like an out of focus shot of somebody's back of their head or whatever, and then they rush home and they edit, the package,
I knew
and it
that
goes
was
up.
part of the playbook.
Yeah, but
I mean, I've noticed just from editing audio here how easy it is to just make somebody look dumb or just just seamless editing that makes them
Pull something
that I can make
completely out
people
of context.
say anything, and that's without AI or anything like that. I can do that just from your own recorded audio, and
See,
it's
so
also the way I
you
do
know
it.
how that effect is actually put in place in the industry.
yeah, I mean, with corporate media, I mean, I don't think media ever should have been corporatized in the first place. I mean, when we're talking about news, like it's supposed to be there to serve the people. It's supposed to be informative. So,
Right.
I mean, like journalism is more important than ever, but like corporate media, like I'm more than happy to see it like dying out in a dumpster fire. It's just a matter of things need to be able to replace that. People need to be able to have real information sources.
Yeah.
And stuff. As a two-person team, we're not capable of, and we're not really trying to like replace those sort of mainstream news institutions. We have a specific focus that we focus on. It's stories about community. We take our time on them. We're not trying to rush breaking news out or covering crime or anything like that. That's not what we do. We focus on kind of more just like in-depth documentary style journalistic storytelling about communities, about how they form, about how people are coming together to do whatever they want to do, feature some cool people, feature some cool stuff. So that's kind of the niche that we're trying to focus on. We experiment a lot with our content. We just sat down with there's a Democratic candidate running for District 4 Representative seat. His name is John Dureski. That was kind of our first kind of high-profile interview that we've done. Zam sat down with him for an hour. It went like an hour and a half, and
Wow.
we talked about his platform. We talked about everything that's going to be out there by the time you hear this. And yeah, it was a pretty big deal for us. So we're really kind of experimenting. I mean, the whole thing has been an experiment from the start. We're seeing what we feel good about and what we don't feel good about. We do look at like engagement and stuff, but it's not kind of our primary motivating factor.
Right.
We really we don't want to be manipulated by the social media algorithms.
Right.
We're working on. Hopefully, by the time you hear this, we'll have figured this out. But we're working on figuring out how to get Good Loser into some sort of off social media format, like
Right.
a newsletter.
Okay.
Is kind of what we're looking at.
Zine or
Is
something?
Yeah, like something that you can browse online. You can look at the articles, but if you want, you can also sign up to get the emails delivered to your inbox. I mean, my dad asked me about the videos that we were doing recently. He asked me, "Can I see these?" And I told him, "Yeah, they're up on Instagram, they're up on TikTok, they're up on Facebook." And he says, "I don't have these things." And
What
I was like,
about
"Okay."
YouTube?
So
Doesn't YouTube yet? Everybody's dad has YouTube now.
yeah, not my dad. But yeah, I mean, just going back to the conversation about corporate media, it really is kind of, I guess, unfortunate how that is. I mean, any institution that is a for-profit business, they're focused on profits at the end of the day. They're profit driven. That means they take out advertising, they take out sponsors to pay their reporters, to pay for their upkeep and everything, and to pay their CEOs and the people who are in charge. Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. Patrick soon whatever owns the LA Times. You've got billionaires in charge of the media, and even at the local level, you've got these media conglomerates that own our local stations and stuff. And I think people are becoming less trustworthy of that over time, and people are also not consuming news in the same way anymore. People are turning to social media. People have been getting their news from TikTok for a long time, for better or for worse. So us kind of honing in on those platforms is how we've been able to reach a lot of people, and just trying to do good with that where we can. We've seen some of the impact already. I mean, we went up to Yakima and we attended a show at the Yakima Makerspace.
Well, yeah, Makerspace. I've been wanting to get in touch with them or do something there, or throw a show there.
Yeah, so they were throwing a fundraiser for help me out here.
Yakima Immigrant Response Network.
Yearn. Yeah, Yearn. They were throwing a fundraiser for Yearn. Yearn is an organization that they help out families that have been impacted by immigration enforcement actions. They financially support families. They help them kind of navigate the process to the extent that they can. They're really there to help. And we met a lady there named Danielle Circadi, and we sat down with her, and we really just went there to learn a little bit about the fundraising scene, the mutual aid scene up there in Yakima, and maybe do a piece about like the community. The makerspace.
The makerspace itself.
The makerspace and the bands that come out there and the causes that they support.
That's one of my favorite hardcore venues.
I interviewed a band earlier today. They're like, this was one of the most DIY venues we've played in a long time. They're like played on the ground. There was no stage sort of thing.
Yeah, we've seen it improve a lot.
Cozy.
A lot too. I was there, I think, back in the winter with the band I managed, Staring at the Sun, and that space was a lot less fleshed out at the time, and they've put in a lot more stuff.
Wait, you're in Staring at the Sun?
No, I'm their manager.
Oh, okay. Oh, awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, we met Danielle, and we learned a lot more from her than we expected to. She told us some things that we felt were kind of pressing information. She told us that they were preparing for a wave of immigration enforcement to come back into Yakima County because all of the ICE agents were up in Minnesota at the time, and she was saying they've been hearing chatter, and they've got sources that are saying, they're coming back and things are going to start getting bad, basically. It was what she was saying. And so we kind of changed up on our plans, and we rushed ahead to get that video out there. And it spread really, really fast. People really valued that information. I have no idea how many families or people that helped directly, but we did meet up with Danielle later a couple weeks ago. And and she happened to tell us that all that publicity brought them a lot of attention, and they were able to help. They were able to raise like $15,000 through a fundraiser that they were holding. She attributed a lot of that money to the publicity that we were able to get for them.
Wow.
And
That's
she
amazing.
said that's money that goes directly to those families that they're trying to help support. So that's kind of an example of the direct impact that we're seeing when we go out and we try to do, what other news stations are kind of failing to do, which is to like actually support and have an impact on the community.
And that's literally organic growth. Like, you're not worrying about an administrative calendar. You're not worrying about what's trending. You're not worrying about your previous content that got the most engagement. You're posting about what the community needs right there. And that had its own natural benefits for your platform.
Yeah, we do not have a content plan.
Yeah.
We don't do anything consistently. We're still trying to figure everything out.
All right, but kind of along those lines, and this could be a very deep in the weeds sort of thing, but kind of a two-parter. First is how do you guys decide what you're going to cover, and then I guess what's the process from deciding, hey, this is what we're going to do, to when we see it on TikTok or Instagram? So for the first question is, how do you guys pick what you're going to cover?
Two things. Word of mouth. I think now that we have integrated ourselves into the music scene, people love to repost stuff. So that's kind of where I see things organically. They just come up on my Instagram feed. I don't know if Facebook events has been fruitful for us at all, but we look on there to see if anybody's got like a cool event going on. I don't think we've ever covered any like Facebook events.
I mean, a big part of it is we just talk to people.
But it's just talking to people.
We talked to people. We went hiking one day and we talked to some people who were holding like a marathon thing, like 100-mile marathon. We were like, what the hell? That's crazy. And we talked to them and we learned a little bit about their organization and wrote down their info so we could look into them later. So we kind of just poke around, look for stories. If we happen to come across something that looks interesting, we'll stop and talk to people. We, try not to be too shy or anything. We're very open-minded, I think.
I would say, like, do you feel like you kind of go about doing things that you're naturally interested in and then covering stuff that, kind of like you find friends in the places that you're hanging out on your own accord?
Yeah, I think both of them. I think that if there's something that we gravitate towards, we typically always cover those things. I'm going to bring it back to the no Ferguson thing. That was something that we wanted to go to because it was kind of crazy. Their turnaround time was kind of like the day before they decided they wanted to do something like that. And it was incredibly opposite of like the general sentiment around that day, which was like everybody was at the No King's Day protest. But we wanted to see, wow, this is kind of a crazy event to be holding the same day as this other thing. Why are people out here, and why do you feel that it's so important to come out here and be in such contrast and opposition to this No King's Day protest? So I think it's been valuable to us to cover things that we don't agree with morally or like politically.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely don't want it to feel like a clique or anything where like we only talk about people we know or scenes that we're involved in. Wherever we can, we try to get out there and cover all angles, basically, I think is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
I dig it.
Normally I wouldn't go out there on my Saturday and go to the No King's Day, No King Bob. Sorry, when I say that, I think of the Minions.
And then I think the second part of the question, what's y'all's process like if you were planning to cover some content, like when you went to Yakima to that event at the Makerspace? What would your process be like from going, hey, okay, let's go cover this event in Yakima. You go. What's the process from there to getting it posted?
Yeah. Well, my thing is always, shoot first, ask questions later, I guess.
Right.
Gather the
they
content, and then we sort through it. That's kind of what we've done from the beginning. Is I review footage, and then I say, Zam, I think this interview you did could be just kind of a standalone piece. I think this works as that. It doesn't need to be part of the bigger piece. So we really just review things and kind of do it on the fly. I mean, like when we went up to Yakima, we weren't expecting to have such an extended interview with Danielle. I was kind of stressed out during this interview because we were missing one of the bands that I wanted to hear, and I'm honestly glad we did because it was more important. Sorry that we missed that band, but
it was a very fruitful conversation, and it was so important.
Yeah.
I still think it is. Yeah.
So that's kind of
information
the
is
organic,
crucial.
things that are unexpected, we just roll with them. If we set out to do a certain piece of content about something and it turns out, we almost never know really like what the story is that we're going out there for. I mean, again, we just try to be really open-minded. Sometimes it's as simple as let's just show up. That's what we do at the protests. We show up and we listen to people and we hear what they have to say. We don't go in with like an agenda or anything other than just to listen and kind of summarize, document and summarize.
What about timeline from when things are shot to when things are put online?
Well, we've learned that we really have to be. I really have to like take care to not rush them out. Because again, we're not trying to be breaking news. We're not trying to be real-time information. We're trying to put together polished pieces of media that are representative to the best of our ability of what was going on that day or what was going on with these people that we talked to. So I've learned this along the way. I've become guilty of trying to get things out faster, and then I've gone back and looked at footage and seen that I missed a couple of interviews that I thought would have been really good, and it's too late at that point. So after I kind of went through that process and was like beating myself up over it, then we just kind of refined our process down to like, let's take our time. Nobody we don't have a boss. Nobody's in charge of us. We can do things at our own pace.
So all deadlines are self-imposed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice.
If there's an occasion where it's important, crucial news, we will try and push that out further. But for the most part, the things that we cover aren't pressing. They're just informational and kind of storytelling.
Yeah.
So
we're covering culture and entertainment mostly. So it's not anything that's time sensitive. So we've got a lot of things that we're working on currently. I mean, I'm trying to get that John Dureski piece out soon because it's politics and we want people to know about who they're voting for or could be voting for.
So what's next for Good Loser?
I don't know. I want to say we have most things open. We're trying to stick to.
Oh, Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll have that sorted out by the time you hear this. We're working on just kind of getting our things decoupled from social media. We'll still be using social media, but we want to have a place where, we're not. If a social media platform shuts down our account or something, that we don't just disappear.
Right.
We're unfortunately like social media is a great way to reach people, but it's also, like I said, it's controlled by the elite as well, and that's really kind of the antithesis of our mission, is to just be very community oriented. And it's difficult in this day and age. Everybody is on social media. That's how you reach people, but it's also, there's a lot of things that are problematic with social media. So it's learning to walk that line and be careful about it and be intentional about how we use it and have diversity in where our content is. So we have a URL. It's goodloser.me, short for Good Loser
Nice.
Media. And when you go there, it'll take you to what we want you to see.
Yeah. Perfect.
Excellent. I was gonna ask that. Do y'all post on Reddit?
No.
No. Wait, what do you mean?
I'm
post
starting
it?
to see more people post their stuff on Reddit, like I don't know, their content that normally they would make as a social media post on other platforms like Instagram and Facebook. People are starting to utilize Reddit that way. Post their content, say, hey, we have a new episode up. Hey, we have this up. And one of the benefits to that is that Reddit is chock full of people that are just like nerded out about stuff. So most things that have been posted on Reddit can be retrieved, and people archive them in like the Reddit Wayback Machine and stuff. So everybody tries to take down posts, and posts get removed by mods and stuff, but people are always on top of it. The bots are on top of it, just archiving everything. So even if the mods rip down your post or something like that, you can still go to the Wayback and retrieve it, and there's some archived version of your media. So there's pros and cons to that, but I think as far as like archival and trying to avoid being scrubbed and stuff like that, Reddit is turning out to be interesting. I know it's growing itself. They got a Super Bowl commercial and all that within the last couple of years and all that for, I think it was like 2 seconds. But for the OGs that were always there and stuff, hopefully before they sell out and change too much, I might just throw that out there. I think it's pretty interesting. I've been on Reddit for a while, and I'm starting to see it used in different ways.
I've been on Reddit exactly once. I'm still not exactly sure what it is. I heard nothing good though.
Yeah.
It's a tool, dude. It's a tool.
I mean, I don't know. I guess a big part of our mission is just we know that the way that people consume news and information is constantly evolving. So we try to understand that as it happens, and that's kind of how we've been able to reach people so far. And we're working on how to reach more people. I've seen media change a lot over the years. I did work in news a long time ago, and just like I seen the way that people just like don't consume that type of news anymore is always very interesting to me, because like when I was a kid, that the news was the news. You sat down with your family. I sat down with my family at least, and the 5 o'clock news was on, and that's just. It was there, and you would consume that, or you would get a newspaper and you would consume that. And these aren't really things that people do anymore now that we have 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah.
And we don't really want to feel like we have to be part of the 24-hour news cycle. We really just want to put out quality stuff for people to watch. But it is interesting, really, to see how like these like corporate media conglomerates that claim to be there for the community really aren't. And
Yep.
I mean, I know that like KNDU, my old station, they laid off a bunch of people recently, which is people I know were affected by that, which is unfortunate. But it's also like a sign of how people really aren't engaging with that anymore. Like they lost their evening newscast, they lost their Spanish language Telemundo newscast. Those all went up to Yakima, and then what was it? The Yakima station? I guess they've also lost like what they do locally here. It's all been moved up to Yakima because different media conglomerates are like trading the stations back and forth or whatever. It's really like the Wild West out there right now.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah. So we really just want to be kind of an alternative voice that really does care about the community and wants to tell real stories, and is not controlled by some sort of corporate entity or rich person with really bad interests, I guess.
Throughout this entire project, it's been a lot of I would say personal development for the both of us. I'll just speak for myself. I have gained the title of journalist, which has been huge for me. I just think it's a funny thing to add onto the things that I can do.
People in the comments call you. Somebody called you a reporter one day.
Really?
Yeah, I had to delete the comment. They called you like an idiot reporter or something. But they called you a reporter. That was
They called me a reporter. Recently, when we were at one of the protests, somebody recognized me. The first time I've been recognized, I was like, "Hey guys, I'm Sam," did my little spiel. And she was like, "Oh my God, I know you, I follow you. You..."
Quietly let yourselves in.
She was like, "You do indie journalism," and that was such a cool thing to be called, an indie journalist. That really boosted me for 5 minutes after that. I was like, that is such a fun thing that people can see me as.
Street cred.
Yeah, I mean, I currently work at a newspaper, but I don't do the journalism in that. I do I'm a graphic designer. I do the layout of that. So being able to separately have that aside from something that I'm literally paid to do is really cool. So yeah,
that's tight.
And TJ is learning a lot about what this is.
I guess so. I mean, I've learned a lot about how, what people care about, I guess, in terms of what we put out, and then I've just learned a lot about gear and everything. I mean, I haven't done film actively, as in producing film, in a long time. I've worked behind the scenes in post-production for a long time, so I really just had to, a long time ago when I my career path became video editor, video producer, I ended up selling all of my filmmaking gear that I had in the past because I wasn't using it anymore.
Oh, right.
So I had to come back and buy new stuff, and I spent so much money on it, but I've learned so much about gear and what works. And it's actually, I mean, I think you said it at the top of the show, and we've talked about this before, it's really incredible what you can do with just a camera and a microphone
and a car
and some gas. And you really don't need, I'm very particular about quality and stuff, but you really don't need the expensive gear that we kind of have.
Right.
The mid to expensive gear that we have. You can do this with any sort of camera and microphone if you're willing to go out and talk to people, I would say. I think we always need more people out there documenting stuff.
Yeah.
So if it's something that inspires you, I would say go out there and do it.
Get started, and then you develop preferences as you go along,
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
I believe that. And it sounds like a spotlight, especially from what you've learned from this. It sounds like you've seen what not to do and what you don't want from corporate media, and you've built this thing that's the epitome of, counteracting that. That's super sick, you guys.
Well, yeah, I usually ask at the end what advice you would give to somebody who's interested in doing what you're doing, but pretty much answered that. But if there's maybe more, or what would you tell your younger self?
I'm scared very often. I feel fear a lot, but a little bit of encouragement and say, don't be scared. Nobody has done anything that was weird. Mm-hmm. That's what I would say. I'm thinking about the Flying Z piece. I went up to, I don't know how exactly I should say this, but I knocked on somebody's door for the first time for this, and I looked up. There was a gun inside of barbed wire that said like a plaque. Sorry, I should have said that first. We ain't calling 911. And I got really scared because I was like, okay, this is Benton City. I know they're not lying.
You knocked on the door anyway.
I knocked on the door anyway. I was like, TJ, I'm scared. But I did it anyway. And the lady was very sweet and nothing happened. And I got my answer.
Yay.
So keep asking questions. You will learn a lot about yourself through this. You will learn a lot about other people, but it's more important that you learn about yourself as well. That's what I would tell myself.
TJ?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I already kind of said my thing.
If not advice to your younger self,
No, we need more of
what
your
about-
wisdom.
If not advice to your younger self, then also advice or foresight or insight for younger generations. Maybe even people trying to do what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can kind of bring it back to the topic we kind of started with, just like politics and people who don't listen to one another. Just be willing to listen to your neighbors and make a community with your neighbors. We have a lot more in common than you think.
Yes.
You know, even the people you disagree with, you probably agree with on a very foundational level. And again, I think it's important for people to be educated. The elite have won the war on education. So, I mean, really, you have to go out there and you have to educate yourself by any means necessary and be informed and vote and just, you know, have a desire to and take action to make things better for yourself and for your neighbors. The people that we disagree with, you know, I still want like good things for them.
Right.
I you know, it's like I said, I think people are very easily manipulated, and I think it's unfortunate how deeply ingrained that has become in our society, and that's kind of part of our mission, is just to get out there and show perspectives and let people come to their own conclusions. But really, as much light as we can shed on things as we can. I mean, we're just two girls in one small town. You know, there are a lot of people who do much deeper investigative stuff than us, you know, much more wider reaching and, you know, high level stuff than us. So, but I mean, news and documentary stuff, it always comes down to a local level. So I like to think that what we're doing here is important. I know we've seen how it's impacted some people already. I think we're going to keep doing it for as long as we can and hope that we can inspire people to help bring about some change. I think that's always kind of been the core goal, is to help inspire people. We do get a lot of comments about, you know, we get a lot of gratitude for the work that we're doing. We get a lot of gratitude we get a lot of people saying they feel inspired by us. I think these are kind of things that keep us going. Not that we need like social media to keep us going or anything, but I mean, we put out a video entirely in Spanish recently. Just kind of as an experiment. We wanted to be able to reach the Spanish-speaking community, especially up in Yakima, where a lot of people have been impacted by ICE and such. Yeah. And we've gotten a couple pieces of feedback that said, you know, thank you for covering this in Spanish. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Yeah.
So that, I think our efforts are being recognized is what I'm trying to say. Not that we need recognition, but
feedback.
But yeah,
feedback is needed.
Feeling that we're not speaking into a void, feeling that we are having some sort of an impact, I think is important.
I will say that when our content comes across people that live here, live in the Tri-Cities, live in Yakima, I get like, we get a crazy amount of comments that say, oh my God, that's my city, I live here. Or like, oh my God, that's my dad, I'm so proud of him for going out there. Or like, oh my God, this is here, my community is here, I'm so glad I'm not alone. These people aren't always people that go out.
Yeah, but we get a lot of people asking, where did this happen? How can I come to the next one?
But people are looking at our content and seeing that there is somebody in the same town as them, when it feels like this is so conservative, such a conservative area. Right. People agree with them and that they are not alone, I think has just been really rewarding for me, because I've thought the same thing before we started this, honestly.
Yeah, it's a very isolating town to grow up in. I've felt that growing up here. It's very isolating, and it really wasn't until I moved out of town for the first time that I, you know, got some different perspective and realized, you know, how much of a bubble the Tri-Cities is, and we could talk forever about that, but seeing our work reach people and seeing them react in that way, I think it really helps reinforce that, like, you know, there's communities out there for people. People are starting to understand that and recognize that.
Love it.
All right. Well, yeah, that was great. Thank you guys so much again for the Tri-Cities Mixtape. This is
Vic, the Dreaded Dragon,
and Miguel Ortiz, and we want to thank our guest today, Good Loser.
Woo. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank y'all for listening. Good night.